about that song, Freedom. We don't just want to watch you be rich. How's that free? I think Beyonce is a brilliant artist. I also think that Beyonce is a hypocrite. Lyrics of liberation don't pay the people who write them.
The reason why people who work for Beyonce don't talk is because they're all on NDAs. Because that's also how she works. She silences people so that nobody can speak.
It looks like Queen Bee herself might be in for a bit of a rough ride this year, as her name keeps popping up in conversations all over the place, and not always for the best reasons. Enter Tiffany Red, who has supposedly been stirring the pot, spilling some industry tea and shining a spotlight on Beyoncé for allegedly taking credit for songs she didn't actually pen. Now, this revelation is definitely causing some raised eyebrows, because it's not the first time Beyoncé has been accused of this. Remember when Kellis threw some shade Beyoncé's way over the same issue back when her Renaissance album first hit the scene? Yeah, seems like Beyoncé's pristine PR armor might be showing a few cracks because, hey, she's a celeb, and like everyone else, she's got her flaws. Hers just might involve taking a bit too much credit for other people's work. Sure, Beyoncé's known for keeping a tight lid on controversies and rarely addressing them publicly, but that isn't stopping folks from calling her out, and Tiffany Red seems to be leading the charge without any signs of slowing down. So let's dive right into the drama. So if you're not up to speed on who Tiffany Red is, let me fill you in. She's basically the behind-the-scenes powerhouse who's penned hits for some major players in the music biz, like Jennifer Hudson, Fantasia, Tamar Braxton, and even wrote Zendaya's banger Replay. Plus, she's got Cassie's back too. She went all in on an interview not too long ago, calling out Diddy for how he treated her. And Tiffany's not the type to stay silent. She's on a mission, and this year seems to be all about laying bare the not-so-pretty truths of the music industry. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room: unfair practices. Tiffany's been spilling the tea on how songwriters often get the short end of the stick. You see, when a songwriter pens a tune for an artist, the artist often snags a chunk of the publishing, even if they didn't lift a finger on the writing front. And guess who's one of the poster kids for this whole shindig? Yep, Queen Bey herself. Not only does she nab credit for songs she didn't whip up, but she's also raking in a hefty chunk of the royalties, and it's eating into the pockets of the real wordsmiths behind the tunes. But here's the rub. Beyoncé's been able to pull off this slick move because she's got folks signing NDAs left, right, and center whenever they hop on board to work with her. That means they're basically sworn to secrecy, no griping allowed. I mean, let's be real. Who's gonna call out Beyoncé? Now, Tiffany Red might not have teamed up with Beyoncé on a project, but she's definitely got something to say about Queen Bee's game. See, Tiffany's fed up with the whole music scene, and she's not holding back. Why? Well, because the game's changed, my friend. Songs aren't flying off the shelves like they used to. Nowadays, it's all about streaming. And let me tell you, streaming ain't exactly lining artists' pockets with gold. It's more like a trickle of spare change. And who's feeling the pinch the most? The songwriters. These folks used to be rolling in the dough, but now they're barely scraping by. Tiffany's had enough of seeing her fellow wordsmiths getting the short end of the stick, and she's not afraid to name names. After Jay-Z threw some shade at the Grammys for snubbing Beyoncé, Tiffany decided it was time to speak her mind. She straight up called out Beyoncé, saying maybe she'll snag that coveted Album of the Year Grammy when she starts giving songwriters their due and stops swiping their publishing rights. Rumor has it that's a hefty 15% to 30%. Oh, and in case you were wondering, Tiffany's got no time for Grammy glam. She's all about that hashtag pay songwriters life. Now, this comment from Tiffany is like opening Pandora's box, because there's a whole lot to unpack here. Some folks out here are scratching their heads wondering why Beyoncé hasn't snagged that Album of the Year Grammy, especially with bangers like Lemonade in her repertoire. But here's the kicker. If word on the street is true and Beyoncé's playing fast and loose with her songwriters' paychecks, well, that could be a major roadblock. I'm not saying it's the whole story, but it's definitely food for thought. And then there's the writing on the wall, or lack thereof. See, past Album of the Year winners like Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Adele, and Bruno Mars, they're all known for crafting their own tunes. They're songwriting wizards, and Beyoncé, not so much. So it's not totally out of left field to think that might be factoring into the Grammy snubs. Also, some folks are crying foul play when it comes to the Grammys. There's talk of politics, of voters having their favorites, and yeah, even whispers of a racial angle, because seriously, how has it been over 2 decades since a black woman took home Album of the Year? And don't even get me started on the Zay snub. Billboard even gave that one a nod. But back to Tiffany and her call-out game. She didn't hold back in her latest live video. She had a lot more to say about Beyoncé. She's basically saying, hey, we all call it Beyoncé's internet, right? So shouldn't we be able to talk to the queen about updating her business practices? Tiffany's pointing out how the music industry has changed a lot since Beyoncé started out. Publishing just doesn't bring in as much cash as it used to, especially if you're not the one writing the hit singles. And every percentage of that publishing money matters a lot these days. But despite all that, Beyoncé Beyoncé still takes her cut. Tiffany's saying, "Hey, wouldn't it be nice to see some changes? A lot of songwriters and producers agree with me." She's basically asking for songwriters to get paid better for their work.
To modernize her business and pay songwriters a livable wage. It's not too much to ask. She made $579 million off that Renaissance tour. Ask the writers how much they made.
Tiffany kept going, and she was talked about how she heard Beyoncé's song My Power in the car, and the lyrics got to her. They're all about not letting anyone take your power, but then she's thinking about all the songwriters who've written for Beyoncé, whose power, in a way. She cited Break My Soul as an example, and how many songwriters' souls have been broken because Beyoncé takes their publishing, which is basically all they've got. Watching Beyoncé get even more famous and richer off the lyrics they wrote, but the writers are left with nothing. She also mentioned freedom, and says it's not really freedom if you're not getting what you're owed. Tiffany respects Beyoncé's talent, no doubt, but she's calling her out for being a bit of a hypocrite. All these lyrics about liberation, but the people who write them aren't getting paid fairly.
You won't break my soul. And then I think about how many songwriters' souls have been broken as this woman is taking the publishing, which is the only thing that they have. They're publishing, in a big chunk too.
So Tiffany kept going, explaining why she called out Beyoncé. She basically said Beyoncé is like the Michael Jackson of our generation. You know, huge influence and all. She talked to someone whose friend worked on Beyoncé's Renaissance record, which is a fan favorite. Turns out the song was written 6 years before Beyoncé got it, but she still took 25% of it. Then she mentioned another writer who contributed to one of our favorite songs, but his credit wasn't right and his business got messed up. Beyoncé even went on tour with that song last year, using someone else's vocals without giving them proper credit. Tiffany pointed out that people who work for Beyoncé don't speak out because they're all under NDAs. That's just how she operates, keeping everyone silent.
The reason why people who work for Beyonce don't talk is because they're all on NDAs. Because that's also how she works. She silences people so that nobody can speak.
And it's not the first time someone's called her out for this stuff. Kellis did something similar in 2022, claiming Beyoncé used parts of her song Milkshake without permission in the Renaissance track Energy. Kellis took to Instagram to express her thoughts. She started with a somewhat passive-aggressive comment about Beyoncé, acknowledging that sampling is common in the industry. However, Kellis emphasized that the real issue is the lack of common decency in not seeking her permission for the sample.
So, grow up, okay? I don't mince my words. I say exactly how I feel, when I feel it, how I feel it.
As a Black female artist, Kellis pointed out the shared experiences and networks within the industry, making it clear that it wouldn't be challenging for Beyoncé to contact her directly. Kellis asserted her knowledge of what she owns and what was taken from her in the past, referencing instances of stolen publishing and swindled rights that she believes occur frequently in the music industry. Kellis also took humorous shots at Chad Hugo, describing him as an amoeba and implying he lacks a backbone. She contrasted this with Pharrell, suggesting that he should know better. In a subsequent video, Kellis highlighted Pharrell's hypocrisy by referencing an interview he did with Variety, where he discussed artist rights and the importance of fair deals. Kellis claimed that when she was signed to Pharrell, they shared the same manager, Rob Walker, who received writing credits on her records despite not contributing lyrics. She insinuated that this arrangement could have led to Walker continuing to receive royalties from her music, a situation that she found unacceptable.
Artists' rights and how people should be able to rework their deals and artists should be getting credit for what they've done and all this stuff.
So that's Tiffany's take on things, really laying it all out there. She's calling Beyoncé out and saying she needs to listen up and make some changes. And you know, Tiffany might have a point. Maybe Beyoncé's struggles to win Album of the Year at the Grammys have something to do with all this behind-the-scenes stuff. It's no secret that Beyoncé has a ton of Grammy wins, and some people speculate it's because of her connections, like Jay-Z being on the voting committee. But even with all that, some folks still won't give her that top award. Maybe it's because of how she handles things in the industry. It's interesting how everyone kind of knows about it, but songwriters still line up to work with her. It's like, why put yourself through that if you know what you're getting into? Sure, having Beyoncé's name on your resume is a big deal, but it doesn't pay the bills. It's a tough call for songwriters, you know? Like, is the fame and prestige worth the grind and the lack of recognition? It seems like some people in the industry are willing to overlook their principles just to be associated with Beyoncé. At the end of the day, though, it's their call, and they can't really blame anyone else if they end up getting shortchanged. They knew the deal going in. Now, apart from the song-stealing drama, Beyoncé has faced accusations before. Rumors have been swirling about her and Jay-Z doing some shady stuff in the industry to maintain their status as the rich power couple they are. It's not the first time people have raised eyebrows at their actions. So back in 2005, a young Tierra Marie scored a deal with Jay-Z's Rockefeller Records. She was not just talented, but also stunning, and she was only 17. Under Jay-Z's wing, Tierra dropped Make Her Feel Good from her first album, and bam, it was an instant hit. Seriously, the song's title wasn't lying. It made her feel good watching her debut climb the charts. And come on, what's better than having Jay-Z as your project's dad and being crowned the princess of Def Jam Records? Tierra was living the dream, no doubt. Also, around the same time, you've got a young Rihanna and Nayo signing up with Def Jam Records. Now, Tierra Mari was already the official princess of the label, stealing all the attention. Being an immigrant from Barbados, Rihanna was kinda in the shadows compared to her more promising label mate. But hold up, everything flipped when Queen Bey decided she was vibing more with Rihanna. Suddenly, the label dynamic shifted, and Tierra got the boot. L.A. Reid spilled the beans in his memoir, saying that initially they thought Tierra was the bigger star between her and Rihanna, but Queen Bee stepped in, made them reconsider, and signed Rihanna. Reid said, "We had an in-house company showcase, and Beyoncé happened to be there with Jay-Z, Tierra Marie, Rihanna. A four-girl group called Black Butterfly and Neo performed. At the label, we thought Tierra Marie would be a big star. We spent more time on her, did more work on her, paid more attention to her. A bell went off for me, however, when after the showcase, Beyoncé came up to me and said, 'That Rihanna girl, she's a beast.' After a little nudge from Beyoncé, the execs decided to give Rihanna a closer look. Fast forward to 2006, and they hit up Tierra Mari with a call, not a fancy letter, just a call, probably made by some staff. And what for? Well, nobody really knows. Imagine getting the boot without a proper heads up from a guy you saw as a father figure. Tierra spilled the tea, saying Jay-Z himself never bothered to give her the news. She said, "Jay-Z didn't call me to tell me bye-bye." If things played out differently, Tierra could have been today's Rihanna or a big Tierra, considering her undeniable talent. But alas, her peak fame window was from 2005 to 2006. Since that day, and Beyoncé's say-so, she's been hustling as a struggling artist with just one hit to her name. Another artist that was allegedly also silenced by the Carters was Blue Cantrell. Back in the early 2000s, she was a big name in R&B, giving Beyoncé a run for her money. Tracks like Hit 'Em Up Style and Breathe were climbing charts everywhere. Blue was on fire. But here's the kicker. After years of rocking the scene, she vanished from the public eye. Where'd she go? Given her obvious talent, record labels were practically fighting over her. Eventually, Blue decided to roll with Arista Records. She dropped her first single, Hit 'Em Up Style, in April 2001, and it blew up. Like, seriously blew up. The song not only snagged the #2 spot on the Billboard Hot 100, but also scored her a Grammy nom for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Blue Cantrell was riding the wave of success back then. In the same year, her debut album So Blue went platinum, and things kept looking up till 2003 when she dropped her second album, Bittersweet. That one included the hit Breathe featuring Sean Paul, earning her a second Grammy nom, this time for Best R&B Album. Talk about a winning streak. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Amid all her achievements, Blue had these persistent rumors flying around saying she was in some intense feud with Beyoncé. Now, Beyoncé was just kicking off her solo career with Dangerously in Love, and she was in the early days of her thing with Jay-Z. Blue, on the other hand, was tight with Jay and dropping R&B chart toppers around the same time. You can guess how the gossip started. Whenever folks asked Blue about her and Jay-Z, she always shot it down, saying there was nothing going on. Although she did spill the beans to Wendy Williams once, admitting she had a big crush on him. She said, "I still have a crush on him now." She spilled, "I don't care who he's dating, I always had a crush on him." It seemed Beyoncé wasn't too thrilled about Blue having a thing for her man Jay-Z, and Blue didn't exactly pour cold water on the feud. Things got even spicier when she pointed out similarities between her songs and Beyoncé's. In an interview with The Guardian, she mentioned how the music video for Beyoncé and Jay-Z's Bonnie and Clyde seemed a lot like the promo for her song Round Up, which came out first.
Check. Unleash the flutes on them.
And Beyoncé? Well, she threw some fuel on the fire too. In the song Signs, she drops this line about being in love with a Sagittarius, Jay-Z, and being hurt by a Pisces, Blue. This didn't sit well with Blue, and she said, "Maybe she's trying to do it to get press, but I want to make her understand if she goes there with me, it's the wrong move. She needs to understand what she's doing and what she's getting into. I'm a master at singing." Oh, but the drama didn't stop there. Blue Cantrell wasn't letting Beyoncé off the hook. After catching wind of the whispers, she fired back, accusing accusing Beyoncé of ripping her off. The heat got turned up when Blue heard Beyoncé's single Baby Boy and thought it was way too similar to her own chart-topping hit, Breathe. Both tunes were edgy R&B jams featuring Sean Paul, and Blue wasn't having it. She straight up complained about it, saying, "Beyoncé is talented and beautiful, and I'm a fan, but she has a song out which is very similar to mine. She uses words that are in the hook of my song, and if she's that talented, she shouldn't have to copy someone else. Her song Baby Boy has the exact word breathe in the hook." She continued her rant, saying, "She's ripping me off, but there is no animosity because I'm a very positive person. However, I'm a little disappointed because she is established and didn't have to do that, but she won't get away with plagiarizing me because I'm a #1 artist." So here's the wild turn in the story. It wasn't long after the feud, according to TMZ, Blue Cantrell had this bizarre episode. They reported she was running through the streets in Santa Monica, ranting about people trying to K her. The whole thing went down around 2 a.m., and witnesses said she was going on about someone giving her poisonous gas. It got so intense that someone had to call the cops. When the officers showed up, Blue pulled the "Do you know who I am?" card and even referred to herself as a one-hit wonder. The cops decided to take her to a nearby hospital for a checkup. After that incident, it's like Blue vanished into thin air, while Beyoncé just kept on slaying with her tours. But wait, it gets darker. Let me hit you with this wild theory. Ever heard the rumor about Jay-Z sacrificing Aaliyah so Beyoncé could steal the spotlight? Now there's this whole Aaliyah versus Beyoncé comparison game. Check out the names: Aaliyah, meaning the highest and most exalted, versus Beyoncé, meaning one who is beyond others. They used to be pals, but now, enter the Illuminati conspiracy. Aaliyah, the seasoned quadruple threat, paved the way for Beyoncé's stardom before tragically passing away. Aaliyah had big dreams: modeling, singing, dancing, acting, even eyeing roles in The Matrix and Sparkle. And now it kind of looks like Beyoncé is following in Aaliyah's footsteps. So in an interview, Aaliyah shared about her dream to hit up Egypt, Cleopatra's turf. She was all about the Egyptian vibes and even wanted to make a movie there. Fast forward to Beyoncé playing Cleopatra in Dreamgirls. Coincidence? Maybe, maybe not. Aaliyah also chatted about designing clothes and accessories, and now Bey's in the fashion game too. So here's the twist. Aaliyah was gaining fans globally, but the Illuminati supposedly saw her as a green light to join their club. Rumor has it she resisted, and history suggests that saying no to the Illuminati, as seen with folks like Michael Jackson and DMX, could mess up your image and, well, things might not end well. Aaliyah was connected to Freemason members like Jay-Z and Damon Dash, who she was even engaged to. Now here's where it gets spookier. Aaliyah started getting into the whole Illuminati and Freemason scene through her connections. She started feeling like her life might be in danger. She even mentioned having a dark dream in an interview just weeks before her tragic death. In the dream, someone was after her, and suddenly she lifted off, feeling all free and weightless. Some folks think this might symbolize, well, you know, death. In the weeks leading to her tragic plane crash, Aaliyah recorded an unfinished song called Time. The lyrics express a sentiment of not having enough time to do everything. Interestingly, Jay-Z released a remix of Aaliyah's I Miss You after her death, mentioning that she used to read Seat of the Soul, a book about opening one's third eye. Adding to the intrigue, right after shooting the More Than a Woman video, Aaliyah received a call to fly immediately to the Bahamas for the Rock the Boat video. The situation seemed oddly aligned with the theme of her unfinished song, Time, suggesting a mysterious connection. Some folks out there are spinning a tale that Aaliyah might have resisted joining the Illuminati or wanted out of the whole scene. The plot twist? They suggest she got replaced by someone willing to play by the Illuminati's rules, enter Beyoncé. The theory goes that Aaliyah's unwillingness to go along with the program or her desire to bail from the Illuminati could have been a factor in her tragic end. It's like they're drawing parallels between the names Aaliyah, meaning the highest, most exalted one, and Beyoncé, meaning one who is beyond others. And get this, Jay-Z is tossed into the mix as a potential player in this alleged conspiracy.
They can control LeBron James. They can control Jay-Z and Beyonce.
But not you, man.
But they can't control me.
Not
You see, it
you.
ain't no name I won't name.
Right.
It's up. I can't send none of y'all Meek Mills, y'all Puffies, y'all Lil Boozy, none of these names. None of these people that have to listen to y'all because they're dealing with, they have legal, I never nobody, right? I'm the that never nobody, right? But that means I can say whatever I want and not go to jail.
Also, there have been rumors floating around that some super powerful force is pulling the strings for celebrities like Jay-Z and Beyoncé, you know, like the whole Illuminati vibe. Even Kanye West threw in his 2 cents, affirming this idea. Kanye West brought up Jay-Z and Beyoncé while discussing the influence of powerful entities over fellow celebrities, and even said that he can say whatever he wants and not go to jail. "I can say whatever I want and not go to jail," Ye tells the camera. "They can't control me, you get what I'm saying? They can control Shaq, they can control Charles Barkley, they can control LeBron James, they can control Jay-Z and Beyoncé, but they can't control me. You see, it ain't no name I won't name. It's up." Ye then brought up his deceased mother, claiming she was sacrificed. "My mama ain't here. My mama was sacrificed. You can't send none of y'all Meek Mills, y'all Puffies, y'all Lil Boozies, none of these names, none of these people that have to listen to y'all. I never K nobody. I'm the P that never K nobody. But that means I can say whatever I want." He then goes on to mention Michael Jordan's father, insinuating that the basketball legend's dad was similarly sacrificed. Now, whether Kanye's just stirring the pot, or if there's any truth to his claims, that's up in the air. It's like another layer in the wild world of the music industry, and as more stories pop up, things are getting kinda creepy. Well, as we've been talking about, it feels like this year is all about calling people out, right? I mean, even someone as universally liked as Beyoncé isn't immune. But hey, we want to hear from you. What's your take on all this? Drop a comment below and let us know. Catch you in the next video.